Tanin. Homeworld. Terra. A mountain world with dense atmosphere and slightly weaker than the average gravity. World is rich with resources, and its orbit is very close to another habitable world in the system. Greatest of Tanin cities cover entire mountains. They use mountains themselves as foundation for their buildings, as they build higher and higher all the way to the peak. Smaller settlements are known as keeps and can be found all over their territories. Each city is as much an urban center as it is a defensive position. Physical characteristics. Type: reptilian. Height: 1.9 meters. Weight: 80 kilograms. Coloration: diverse mix of colors, with usual mix of white, a cold color like blue, and warm color like red. There are dozens of variants of Tanin coloration. Diet: omnivore, with mostly meat diet. Senses: great eyesight and sense of smell, good hearing. Forms of communication: vocal. Reproduction: eggs. Incubation: 11 months. Lifespan: 220 to 300 years. Maturity: 12 years. Special traits: Tanin have 4 eyes, which gives them great depth perception. One set of eyes is directed more forward, like a predator, when the second one is more to the sides. With ability to move each eye independently, Tanin can notice threats coming from both sides and, if they want to, can enhance their depth perception. As species with wings, Tanin have not only ability of flight, but also great comprehension of three-dimensional space. Tanin bones are hollow, making them less resilient, but they usually have more muscle mass compared to standard humans. Tanin have psykers, although few in number and usually quite weak. Psychological characteristic: Tanin are traumatized society in more ways than one. Their history was bloody and experienced many cruelties which they didn't deserve. This made them into relatively suspicious, xenophobic, aggressive and isolationist people. Since joining the coalition, things started to change for the better, but echoes of those traumas still remain. Tanin are very low-focused people. Their codes are important to them and they will follow them to the dying breath. The same way breaking deal with Tanin means more than just breaking of a deal, but outright treachery. They are very suspicious of the outsiders and psykers. They are also very protective of their families and friends. Psykers are in fact despised by the society, and psykers born into a family are disowned and treated as a curse. Amputation of psykers' wings, as to limit them physically when they have psychic power, is a common practice. Some are also blinded, either totally or partially. Tanin despise authoritarian rule and slavery. As long as you aren't a psyker, their society is quite egalitarian. The kingdom they live under is more part of a tradition and their heritage rather than some kind of love towards authoritarian regimes. Tanin are survivors of many wars, and because of their history, the entire society is deeply militarized. All citizens are required to serve in the military and own weapons in the case of enemy attack. They mate for life and care very much about their young. Tanin are spiritual society that have faith in their ancestors. Their faith is focused not around the gods and deities, but great philosophers and rulers of their people who guided them on the path, the idea of order in the universe of chaos. Since joining the coalition, some Tanin started to believe that Taova goddess to be another guide of a path, and her cult becomes more and more popular among them. Tanin have interesting burial traditions. Dead bodies will be given so-called sky burial, where the meat will be stripped from the bone by scavengers and other flying creatures. After which, bones of the dead will be transformed into charms and amulets. Those charms will be worn by the family, become parts of weapons, or be placed within their household and keeps. It is traditional for the child or someone close to the dead to wear their skull either as a mask or a part of traditional armor worn on special occasions. Tanin believe that as long as those charms are taken care of, the spirits of the dead will lend them help in times of need or defend them from harm. It has been noted that those charms have negative effect on forces of chaos. Tanin have rich art and culture. They tend to their traditions and develop them. They see them as precious and will go to great lengths to keep elements of the past safe. Each piece proof of their struggle and survival against all odds. History. To say that Tanin had unpleasant history would be an understatement. They waged wars against each other for a very long time, until early space age, when outside forces of maddened berserkers fell upon their civilization, among the fact that portion of their own population turned mad and attacked their own people. In this unexplained invasion, Tanin found unity and established their new state and monarchy that survived next few thousand years. In the same period, weak psykers started to appear among their population, which initially given Tanin advantage over the invaders and ability to guide their ships through the warp, after they managed to secure multiple warp drives from invading forces. After surviving this mad war, Tanin began their expansion, hoping to secure the neighboring systems and keep their world safe. What they found was a small force of orcs that proven to be a very difficult enemy to deal with, and one which caused significant damage to their efforts. After scoring another hard-earned victory, Tanin continued their expansion, and for a time it seemed that everything was going well. They even established contact with a friendly xenospecies that was also native to Terra's nebula, only for that xenospecies to turn out to be full of pain cult worshippers who waged war against the Tanin. This was when Tanin developed their deep xenophobia, and since then, any sign of intelligent life that wasn't Tanin was eliminated on sight. This was appropriate decision, as outside of Tanin, every single species in the nebula became chaos worshippers. Tanin alone being resilient enough to not fall into embrace of the dark gods. When Terra's nebula has been secured and Tanin felt as if they were safe, another tragedy fell upon them. Their king turned out to be a psyker, a powerful one that grew mad and became a tyrant, enslaving and torturing their people en masse. Rebellion against this tyranny lasted a century before he was brought low. It was because of that mad king, whose name has been struck from the official records, that Tanin hates psykers and are cruel to them. For them, every psyker is potential new Mad King. After the fall of the Mad King, age of monarchy has come to an end, and Tanin's state became a tetrarchy. 4 great dynasties started by 4 great leaders of a rebellion against the Mad King, now sat together as rulers, the highest powers, split between those 4 great houses. This traumatized xenophobic kingdom, full of warriors, survivors and witch hunters, grew to the size of 50 worlds by the time they met the coalition. They had 2 goals in mind: to expand and to annihilate anything or anyone who could hurt them. When they encountered coalition exploration fleets, they marked them as enemies and prepared great invasion. 9th Coalition War started when Tanin fleets fell upon unsuspecting coalition forces. They achieved successes against merchant navy and local self-defense forces, but they were stopped and pushed back when faced with might of the main coalition military. It wasn't easy, but coalition had technological and numbers advantage on their side. The war was brutal, and pushing Tanin back was a bloody grind. Some members of the coalition started saying that Tanin aren't capable of a greater good, and needed to be exterminated. It was in the Battle of Shanatak, where Tanin forces and one of their kings was cut off from their fleet, when Great Tau commander and follower of Monat, Vash Ule, the Iron Fist, challenged King Ukrehai to the honor duel. The king was ready to charge all his forces at coalition lines in suicidal attack. Vash Ule proposed an alternative. If Ukrehal won, coalition would pull back and allow their fleet to retrieve them. If Vash Ule won, Tanin commanders would surrender to the coalition, but all troops would be allowed to leave unharmed. Vash Ule managed to win the duel without killing the king, although it cost him an arm and an eye to do so. This show of strength and integrity of the coalition wards stunned Tanin and led to diplomatic talks and signing of a ceasefire, a white peace. Tanin returned to their territories, and coalition left a border region between them uncolonized. Uneasy peace lasted almost 3 decades, until Great Orc Waa smashed through the warp storm barrier right between Coalition and Tanin space. In the face of this common enemy, Coalition and Teros Kingdom united their forces and managed to beat the Orcs in 10th Coalition War. With the victory over Orcs, Tanin started the process of diplomatic talks to join the Coalition, which they did in a few years. Since joining the Coalition, Tanin experienced unprecedented period of peace, prosperity, and trade. Joining the Coalition, 536 year Millennium 41, 6950 year Era of Unity. 2 Terran years after the end of 10th Coalition War, Teros Kingdom ratified pacts and deals with the Coalition, officially joining as a full member. Status in the Coalition: Autonomous Ally. Tanin are one of the biggest powers in the Coalition, thanks to their impressive holdings of 50 worlds and territory that is comparable to Imperial Subsector. Tanin stand as one of the youngest and most powerful members of the Coalition. They are very much independent and autonomous. Their industrial, military and economic power makes them many times an important factor in Coalition politics. However, Tanin themselves aren't yet too eager in Coalition politics, as long as policies don't impact their state directly. Government. Teros Kingdom is a parliamentary tetrarchy. The country has 4 heads of state, each from one of the great houses. They are executive power within the kingdom, and they need to reach a consensus for any reform to pass. It's important to note that people who have more than one bloodline of a great house cannot become a monarch. Under them is House of Merit, where nobility and people of greatest merit sit as mostly advisory body to the heads of state. It is also from this house that most ministers are taken from. Below is the House of Keeps, which is democratic parliament and main legislative power in the state. It's from the people that most reforms come from and are later discussed by the House of Merit and heads of state. Very important is House of Law, where sit guardians of the law and code. Traditionally, only people who have blood of at least 2 of the great houses can be part of a House of Law. Those are specially trained lawyers whose sole task is to ensure that Teros laws are upheld and respected. House of Law have their own military force that responds directly to them and is able to deploy against anyone who breaks the laws of a Teros Kingdom. Role within the Coalition. Teros Kingdom is a powerhouse in the Coalition, especially Coalition territories beyond the Perdus Rift, which currently holds Tanin and Krut as 2 dominant forces there. They have impressive industry, ground forces and navy. While they prefer to keep to themselves for now, they are starting to make more and more contacts in the furthest reaches of the Coalition. Their military forces are deeply respected, since they proven themselves in the wars against the Orcs. Tanin provide many unique vehicles and weapon systems that boost overall military capacity of the Coalition. Their industrial output greatly boosted Coalition economy as a whole and allowed for faster development of Coalition territories beyond Perdos Rift. Tanin proven themselves to be amazing voidsmen and warriors, and with their upholding of contracts and deals, they became reliable traders, diplomats and lawsmen, respected through the Coalition space. Although a new addition, they significantly boosted Coalition might. This society of warriors and survivors found hope and peace in the Coalition, which they sought for millennia, and they will protect that hope till their last drop of blood.